Are we ready?
You are.
Hi. Marco just asked, what's the difference between the complex path and the regular multi path? Okay, so this is what we call refer as complex path. Uh, Complex path has been around for over 100 years, and complex path is only coming in this time of the year, winter to spring, and so the also refer as a Bordeaux. So this is complex path, and this is the we usually refer as a multi type, and they are. And another major difference is complex path generally do not have any variegated leaf. There are some crossbreeding between two, so but they will have some variegation. But in general, complex path is always big, ball, waxy flower, almost they call it British Bordeaux, non-variegated leaf. Okay, so that's your complex path. They're only available this time of the year. So we have plenty of those on the website. So this is something that if you're a growing area, it get cold. They love to have. They actually thrive before they flower below 60 degrees. So if you have an area that to drop at night, this is for them. Okay, right. And then this is what we refer as the regular multi type. So this is the tropical type. They're from Asia, very similar as where the phalaenopsis come from. So they are great companion with the phalaenopsis. Okay. I hope everybody have a good holiday. Huh? Okay. My producer said I had to introduce myself. Okay. What episode is this?
85 or 86.
Okay, 85 to 6. I have a nice 2 weeks off. I hope everybody have a nice break and have a nice retreat at my loft at Oregon. And so I thought I'd start with Angraecum Sesquipedale. And I know some of you have Angraecum Sesquipedale. How many of you haven't tried this kind of orchid before? Okay, not yet. Okay, I've been growing Angraecum Sesquipedale for about at least 15, 20 years. I was always fascinated, even when I was in college. Of course, many of you know I have a degree in horticulture, but this is one subject that the botany teacher always use as referral as the Darwin orchid. This is very fascinating. They're from Madagascar, tropical. Okay, they're not vanda, even though they get this. They're monocot. Monocot means they only grow this way, like phalaenopsis. They don't have rhizome. Occasionally they have a side shoot, but primarily they go this way. Angraecum Sesquipedale, they refer as some people also call, if you really are religious, Star of Bethalem. It's beautiful. They always flower December for Christmas. We have people love to have this for their mask, and they also have fragrance at night. And the fascinating about this, the Darwin used it for evolution is, see this spur here. Okay, this is only one area in the Madagascar island that had the mouth, had the tongue, that go all the way down there for the nectar. So this is perfect example. And the minute, they only found one area of Madagascar island because that's where the mouth come from. If you remove from the area without the mouth, they don't have the pollinator. They don't find it elsewhere in the world. So this is the perfect example for the evolution. And this is actually the one that I posted here last December before we leave for the year. And it's been in the cooler greenhouse here, so they kind of take longer to stretch out. Okay, they always flower from the top and go backward. If they have two flowers, I don't know why, because the top flower obviously had the more light. Okay, so alrighty, so once the culture on this is actually very, very similar to the phalaenopsis, and this is why I always have this in my nursery. I think once we sort out this batch, we're gonna do another. From here, I'm going to pick out the two of the best one. This will be a good one. We're trying to take the longest spur. On the first bloom, this one has 3 flowers, versus most of them on this side have 2 flowers. They do get better with age. But if you are buying the Angraecum Sesquipedale, do me a favor, do not buy what I call the eyelash size. This is a 4 years old. They are minimum before they get to this size, a 4 years old. That's how how long they take them to mature and have capable of flower. Once you get to the 4 years old stage, okay, this is 4 years old. You see here? Okay. Okay, I'm not getting younger, so most of my customers do not have patience to grow them. Wait for 4 or 5 years. This is 4 years for me as a commercial grower from flask. If you are growing without the greenhouse, it might take you another extra year or 2 years. So always, if you are new here, I always stress if the bigger size is available, always buy the bigger one, because obviously the time is essential. The bigger the flower, the bigger the plant, it give you more enjoyment. So this is a 4 years old plant. So once they start spiking, okay, they're actually perfect for under light too. They're great with Jeff's light. If you grow it next to the phalaenopsis, they do not need a drop of night temperature to flower. Okay, so what I have learned over the years is they love to grow in the moss, not orchid bark. Okay, the orchid bark for me is they look at the structure of the leaf. There is no area for them to store water, and very similar to phalaenopsis, they're very thin. They're not much there. So, and also. We almost never lose plant in the moss, because the moss have the pH is below 5.5, and that's very similar to where the natural habitat or where the species come from at Madagascar. Okay, and then a lot of time also the moss, when you are in the winter time, when the summertime, grow them warm, grow them wet in the summertime. That's just a phalaenopsis from March to October, when it's warm and long day, a lot of water, a lot of feeding, just like your regular phalaenopsis. But once you get into when the day length is getting shorter, a shorter day and longer night and slightly drop in temperature, it actually will tell the plant to change the season. So they're not necessarily controlled by the drop of temperature like phalaenopsis that have 10-15 degree different, but they actually do it by the photosynthesis on them. Everything okay? Okay, so that is the trick. Golden, they hate to dry out in the growing season. So if you let it go in the bark mix, that's okay, but make sure you do not let them dry out in between water. And also, what happens if it's between water? If it's getting dry up, the bottom leaf will fall off. You notice that this one here, a lot of the younger leaf, some of the older leaf is still there. You know, we still have some. Okay, okay, and here's one. For those that are new, my nursery do not use fungicide, so we use this is the time to kind of trim them. You can actually the older leaf in the back, You can trim them off because you want to show off the plant. Yeah, this is really old. This is like 5 years old. So if a lot of people say, oh, they're getting yellow or they're getting disease, no, this is just aging. Okay, you can actually trim them off if you like. And in this case, I want to make sure they are presentable, especially if you're going to an orchid show. A well-groomed plant will make a difference between a red ribbon, a blue ribbon, and red ribbon. Okay, and that's what judges are looking for. And another thing is, they tend, because the way the leaf structure, they tend to collect water in these pouches here. Okay, so this is also why you want to water early in the morning. But if you are growing in the moss, I usually only water maybe every 2 weeks in the summertime, and in the wintertime right now, maybe just every 4 to 6 weeks I check the water. Let me show you this one here. This haven't been watered for 2 months, almost 6 weeks, and you can tell the difference. Jeff, you want to weigh them? They are lighter in color versus the very dark color, and they are heavy versus lighter. Okay, so this one here, I can let it go for another week, because when I put my finger in the middle, at the bottom here, in the center of the moss, they're still moist. Okay, so if you never grow in the moss is just almost like a sponge in a way. Okay, so less is more. As long as the plant is not wrinkled, they are beautiful. They're not busted. So this is good. When they are spiking like this, it's preferred not to. You actually need to raise them. Okay, anything that you can raise them apart like this. No, I got it. Okay, you can use wire. I don't know when Jamie gonna release this. If you don't take them away from it, once this growing tip here touch the ground, you're not gonna get that beautiful, elegant spur like this. So this is why when they start spiking, I always put it in the pot. You can, if you go underground, under the light, get a pot, reverse it, and keep raising it higher, higher. Just make sure the spur here do not touch the ground. Very similar to Palfipedum sanderiana, because this, consider this, there's an apical meristem here. There's a growing tip here. Okay, so if you want to touch the floor or the bench, it will stop growing. Now you lost the arrogance of the really true beauty of this species. And you can actually, depending on you, you can let it, if you're not taking to the shore, you just want to let it hang out like this. But our nursery, we tend to kind of spiking them because just in case we have to ship it. But for me, if I do it by myself, for myself, I would just let it apart like this and let it hang for about, let it hang and let the spur go up. And Jamie posts one at her house that's still kind of short. This is how to tell you they take a long time, and this is kind of fun. You can actually watch them grow. It takes about, when the spike come up to the first flower open, it can be 4 to 6 weeks. They're not like phalaenopsis going to pop open overnight. The fun part is to see them grow, and this spur get elongated. As they get elongated more, they actually produce a lot of honey inside this tube here, and that's why when they open, that's how they attract the moth. And they actually kind of difficult to transfer for orchid show. If you are taken to the show or you do it a different moving, make sure do not touch, use your finger touch here. This is actually been staged too late, so I can see some of the water damage on them. So once they get the open stage like this, do not get water to stay on the flower. Okay, they can be easily got smashed, and watch out for them at night. They are night fragrance, and that's what the mouth is, the flying mouth at night attract to them. So if you go with phalaenopsis, novelty phalaenopsis, these are great companion. Okay, the trick on them in the border point, they do not like cold. Okay, they do not like any cold. Night temperature drop below 60 degrees. Okay, the optimum temperature for them is very similar to where you go in Vanda, but they don't not like as much light as Vanda. If you go in Vanda, you want to go below your Vanda. They love to have water along with your Vanda if you live in Florida. If you go in the underlight or just put it next to each other with a phalaenopsis, you cannot. This is kind of pretty. Behind your phalaenopsis under the light, use it as a background when they're not in flower. I think they are very architecturally beautiful, like a fan shape when they're not in flower. So you can kind of use this for under light or in your windowsill for kind of a placement piece. And other than that, if you can get the water, don't let the water stay in here overnight, and that you can prevent a lot of pest and disease. They do not have a lot of pest and disease. The only thing I'm familiar with, sometimes if the hard scale might like them but generally speaking, they are not succulent. They don't have, the leaf is nothing to chew on. And they're too tough for snail and slug to chew on them. The more on the disease part will be the fungi that stay in here. Okay, so if you have the water at night, because you schedule, do not try the water here. Do not get water get wet between it. Okay, and other than that, I'm trying to make it simple because this is really a very user-friendly species to grow. Probably the easier of all the Angraecum. There's a lot of Angraecum, and I love Angraecum. So as a week goes, we will introduce you some other Angraecum. There are some really tiny miniature too. They're fascinating. This is the genus. They're from tropical Africa, and they are endangered. There's a gentleman, Hilberman in Sacramento. He's the one that did a lot of primary work on this Angraecum. So it is coming back again because it's one of the specialty items you cannot, most of the box store, nobody want to grow it because it takes too long. But we are committed, that's my mission. We are committed to the hobby. We're not interested in turning around, that kind of stuff. That's not here. If you want to go orchids as a hobby, why not grow something that is fun and educational? This one here, this is always a perfect, if you have granddaughter or children in high school, a perfect subject to do if they had to turn in a science report. Wonderful to do it, okay? And any question?
What's the age difference between like the smaller one and one over here?
This and this. So in our website, we have a mature side without flower. From here to here, about 2 to 3 years. So they don't get really big, okay? But this is for every time when today, this week I'm going to make another sip process, okay? So that once they take the sip process, they're going to take 1 year on the seed capsule, another 1 year in the laboratory for aseptic culture. Okay, so 2 years just between the cross breeding, and then once they're ready to come out, take another 4 years to get to this size. So this is why I had to use eBay example, but a lot of people been taken by eBay. Never a size like this minimum. Now we actually have an eBay store now. I also always measure the leaf span. If you have a leaf span like I call it eyelash size, forget it. They're going to take another minimum 4 years for you. And when the plant is that small, they're not as forgiving to grow. as a bigger plant. Okay, so the bigger the better. So this is about 6 years old. So this is why the 6 years old plant, as the get better we age, just like us. Look at
It
that.
has multiple spikes.
Yes, and as the plant get bigger and bigger, that's how the people will get culture award. Okay, and it's not unusual to have plant to have 4 spike, because as they get longer here, there's more dormant eye. So you get, so this one here in 2 more years, when they get another 4 more fan, for example, it might have 4 spikes. Okay, and all this are feed regularly. If you are new, we always use my Norman's Optimum Orchid nutrient, and then every other week, and then in between, you spray with Mega Dry foliar. Okay, and Mega Dry, especially when they are the young bud stages, it's okay to spray the bud. Okay, it actually will make the flower get even bigger. But once they open, do not spray anything on the flower, even water. You're gonna get some botrytis or get black spot, or don't even touch it with your finger. If you had to move them to the orchid show, get some of the cotton paper. Okay, use it as a bedding for transit. It's always we as a judge, we always have seen that's a beautiful flower, but they did not stake it well enough, and then so the plant got kind of shifted, and then the flower got bumped into the foliage, and they got a lot of bruises, and that's why you're going to, instead of getting a blue ribbon, you might get in a red or even yellow. So this is it. I think we have an easy one, easy subject to start for the 2022, and that's all for today. Unless any more question for me? And oh, by the way, if an item for this item here is NF1671, and we should have plenty of supply of the booming one for the next 2 to 3 weeks. For some reason, we actually grow this in 2 different greenhouses. So the one for Christmas is already sent out. I'm actually have stationed this. I put this when it's in spike to a cooler greenhouse. So I will have this for the new year, and everybody celebrate for the new year. So actually this is good. And in some culture, in Japanese culture, New Year in January 1st, they love to have they celebrate the New Year with pure white, the purity. Okay. They also, we're also trying to work on another variety. They actually another variety that we had before, but we have kind of lost it. There's another variety of the Sesquipedale that can bloom for Easter. So that's why that is the one I'm trying to bring it back to the cultivation. Can you imagine this for Easter? I think this is better than Easter lily. Okay, so I'm gonna continue for the show and tell. Okay, let me move this away. So, Jeff, this is the one that you added up for the YouTube channel. Okay, good. Oh, on the subject. Okay, I'm going to use this as an example. Very rare, but you occasionally on a monocot, you will have a Keiki from the base. You hear? Okay, and this is the one, and the experiment we did before. And how many of you have my Keiki paste?
Can you show it again where the Keiki is?
Here? Okay. How many of you have my Keiki paste? Okay, if you do have a Keiki paste, for example, and the plant is strong enough, remember the one I cut earlier? Okay, do apply the Keiki paste to where you cut the basal here. And this is how you can induce multiple spike, a Keiki from here. But don't do it right now because this is the flowering season. So you do it in about March and April. Put it in the lower part, but make sure they are big print like this. Put it on the lower part. When it's long day and warm night at the base, and you can actually induce a Keiki, what I call multiple print, rosette print. So next year, okay, so this is the original mother print. This is actually a Keiki. So the Keiki is actually grow as big as the original one. So they actually, by next year, let's see, I do not need to repot them yet. But next year, I will maybe get 2 to 3, 4 spike, even 4 spike from 2 plant. So this is one way to play around with your Keiki paste. Keiki paste, if you don't have it, grab one, because many of you are new. This Keiki paste is one of what I call insurance, that you can make a copy of your very, very treasure orchid, okay? So it's not unusual and very rare, but you can use the Keiki paste to get multiple Keiki. Okay.